So I wanted to talk about the loop practice problem. So the original problem they gave us was print out this slash pattern um, shape. And so what I did was I actually typed in my notepad, I typed in the example problem, the answer they were looking for. But instead of spaces, I used a dot so I could see where the spaces were. And as I was typing it, I kind of noticed I was doing like three, 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 and then two, 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 and then one, 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 one. And then all of a sudden we were back up at the top pattern again, doing three, 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 two, 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 one, 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 and three, 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 two, 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 one, one, one. So it's kind of this 4-3-2-1 pattern. And then an interesting thing, if you kind of look back at that, is you realize that the whole big shape is also a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1 um, pattern as well. So great. That means that we know if we can basically, if we can get the computer to print this pattern to start with, then instead of printing a new line, we'll just keep printing the same pattern as many times as we need it. And then we'll do our new line once we've printed as many patterns as we need. And then we'll do this one. And then we'll print this pattern 4 times. And then we'll do our new line. And we'll print this pattern 4 times. And we'll do our new line. And we'll print this pattern 4 times. And then do our new line. And then we'll repeat this whole thing again, this whole block again, printing the 4 slashes, 4 slashes, 4 slashes. This time we're only going to do it 3 times, and then we'll do our new line. And then we'll do the next row 3 times in a new line, next row 3 times a new line, next row 3 times a new line. So if we can get this one pattern, then we can write the kind of nested loops around it to do it. One thing you can't do is once you've done your println, there's no way to put stuff back up on the line. So we will have to kind of change our loops to be able to continue putting this picture next to this picture. You can't put this picture and this picture next to each other because once we've print line and go to this line, we're going to obviously have to change our code if we want to continue on that line. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's go ahead and jump in. So we talked about the pattern we're trying to print is this slash 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 and then slash 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 dot and then slash slash dot dot and then slash dot dot dot. Okay, so I'm actually just going to call that AAAA and then AAAB and then AABB and then ABBB. So I just want to use letters instead of slashes and dots because that in my mind is easier. Maybe it's the same for you guys. I don't know. So for A, we want to do the other constraint that the problem gave us is we're supposed to only use minus minus or minus equal 1 and decrement by ones. So that basically means all of our loops and all of our kind of counting is going to be going backwards. So let's go ahead and count these rows off backwards. So let's count them row 4, row 3, row 2, and row 1. Okay? So those are our rows. Row is 3, row is 2, and row is 1. So for each row, we're basically, let's go ahead and write that for int row equals, we'll start it at 4. We're going to count backwards, and we want, as long as row is, we could say greater than 0, that would work, or we can say greater than equal to 1 if we want to end up using the same stopping number as what we have. So let's use that one, row minus minus. Okay, cool. So then now we've printed our 4 rows. Now we just need to print the row. do print each of the 4 rows. Okay, so to print the row, let's go back up. We need to, first we're going to print our A's. And so we have 4 A's, and then we have 3 A's, and then we have 2 A's, and then we have 1 A. So if we want to print 4 A's, probably the easiest way would be to start at 4 and count down till we're at 1, and then start at 3 and count down till we're at 1, start at 2 and count down till we're at 1, start at 1, count down till we're at 1. So let's go ahead and do that. So 4 equals, so that was actually, that number is the same as our row number, so we'll use row. And then we said as long as A is greater than or equal to 1, we want to decrement A. We want to print an A. Okay. And then done printing row. We want to do a println when we're done printing our row so that the next row is on its own line. So let's go ahead and run that. Cool, we got our A triangle. Now, right now it looks just like the first part of the book, or the problem, but what we want to do next is print out the B's to fill it in to make it square so that we can continue putting things next to it. Otherwise, when we're on the second row, we would print 3 A's and then 3 more A's, and there wouldn't be a space in between. So let's go ahead and work on the B's. So how many B's do we have? Let's see, 0 B's, 1 B, 2 B's, and 3 B's. So normally, when you have something like this, my recommendation would be we would do a loop that kind of just counts up to that number or something. Let's see, but we want 0 B's when the row is 4. We want 1 B when the row is 3, 2 B's when the row is 2, and 3 B's when the row is 1. So if we take 4 and we subtract row, 4 minus row is 4 minus 4 equals 0. And then 4 minus row is 4 minus 3. 4 minus row equals 4 minus 2. 4 minus row equals 4 minus 1. So that does work. And that's kind of a common trick, is if you take the highest number, and sometimes it's +1 if you wanted 1 B to start, if this had a B, if the pattern had been like this, then we would have said 5 minus row instead. So that's kind of a pattern you look for when you're trying to count numbers in the opposite direction as the values you're given, is it's some big number minus the thing that's changing. Cool, so we have that. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we have for int B equals 4 minus row. Well, B is greater or equal to 1. B minus minus. System out print of B. Let's go ahead and run that. Okay, cool. And so at this point now, we've done our one block of the pattern that we were trying to get to. So does that kind of make sense? Again, we're counting backwards. So the first time we had b was 0. 0 is not bigger or equal to 1, so we didn't print anything. The second time we were on row 3, 4 minus 3 was 1, b was 1, b does equal 1, so we actually printed, made b 0, and now we exited. So that's why this is printing those. So hopefully the single for loops you understand, and so then this should make some sense. And it's a common technique to get there. Cool, so we have this. Now what we need to do though is before we print our row, we actually want to do this, print this same pattern, this AAA or AAB, whatever row we're on. We want to print it 4 times. So let's go ahead and we'll do for int big row, I guess. Oh, big, sorry, not big row. Big column. Is, and we're doing backwards again, or counting down, I should say. And then if you highlight the method that you're doing and you do Control-Shift-F, it'll reformat it. And that way all the indenting is right on our loops. So, okay, so if we're printing the row 4 times, we're going to do that pattern. And then we're going to print our new line. And then we'll work on the next row. 4 times, we're going to print that row. So let's go ahead and run that. Great. So we can see that we're doing that. That's all good. And we've got the first 4 squares done. So now we just need to do this 4 times. So let's go ahead and wrap around the whole outer block for int big row 4 times. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and format that. Control-Shift-F. Okay, and let's run it again. Okay, so now we're repeating our pattern. Maybe it's easier if I switch when we're actually printing. Let's go ahead and use slash and dot so you guys can see it a little bit easier. Okay, so now we worked on this square first, and then we repeated the thing 4 times, and that worked. And now we're printing 4 copies of that from this outer big row. Now, each time big row changes, so big row is 4, 3, 2, or 1, what we'd really like to do is have the column be less. So the first time we wanted 4 columns, but the next time we only wanted 3 columns, and then we wanted 2 columns, and then we wanted 1 column. So we need to change this amount so that we do it based on which row we're on. So if we're on the 4th row, if big row is 4, we want 4, and if big row is 3, we only want 3 columns, not 4. So if we say big row and run that, great. So that looks almost perfect. And then let's go ahead and change our dot to a space. All right, cool. So there you have it. And so we basically broke it down, worked on this little AAAB problem. We kept our for loop simple by always putting the end condition to, to stop at 1. And so then this number was how many times our loop was going to run. And so that made it really easy. There was one more question, which was how could you make this thing scale so that a bigger number would print something bigger. And so basically, this 4 is about how many this inner block is, how big that inner block is. And then this 4 in our row was about how many lines tall it was. So it seems like these two 4s are really related to each other. So let's go ahead and make a public static final int inner size equals 4. And then let's change that and change that. Okay. And let's run it and make sure nothing in our output changed. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and make that a bigger number now. So now we still are doing 4 squares by 4 squares, but now each one of them is 6 wide and 6 high. So our outer square is actually controlled by, it looks like just this one number, because big column doesn't have anything, it's just based on big row. Let's do a public static final int outer size equals 4. Let's go ahead and run that and make sure nothing changed. Okay, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and make that some value that's not 6. 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 high. Cool. So now it looks like we're able to control how many of these we have. Let's go ahead and change. Let's shrink that down instead and see what happens. Okay, so now we're saying each triangle is 3 by 3, and the outer is 6. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's 1 row, 2 row, 3 row, 4 row, 5 rows, 6 rows. Perfect. Cool. If you wanted to make the scaling factors the same, you could just use one variable of size and put it everywhere. So anyway, so thanks for watching this video.